Down at St Andrews, we are all supporters of our team. We chanted Super Blues, ringing all around. Now all you blue boys know what we mean. We are the lads from the Tilton. We'll support you till the end of the day. We're so happy following the blues. We love you, what more can we say? Let's hear you in the pub, singing our song, helping and sharing the load. It's worth the point at home when we sing together. We're there at the end of the road. We are the lads from the Tilton. We'll support you till the end of the day. We're so happy following the blues. We love you, what more can we say? We have a team that's tops here at St Andrews. They're gonna give us what we're longing for.
Through Zoom for the very last time, ladies and gentlemen. We will be back in the studio together next Monday night. What a announcement. Yep. Welcome to Tilton Talk Show, sponsored by Boyle Sports, the principal sponsor of Birmingham City Football Club. And of course, our friends at SAS Autos and our good friends down at Bordsey Labour Club, and all our listeners and viewers. Welcome, thrice verily welcome. And tonight we've got in the studio Mr. Hipkiss, aka Mr. She.
Good evening, all.
And of course, Mr. Robe.
Hello, everybody.
And there he is.
All right.
Showing off his dynamic robe. There it is. There it is. Woo! Mrs. Brown. And our special guest tonight, we welcome the one and only Mr. Chris Skudder.
Good to see you all.
Welcome, Chris. Thank you so much for joining us, Tilton Talk Show. Right, okay. Hour and a half now. We just talk about blues and anything that comes across our way. We have no set agendas, nothing written down. It's just all ad hoc, and away we go. So off you go, Chris.
You want to start?
Born in Warwickshire, Chris. Yep.
I was born in Warwickshire. Yeah, I was born in Sorrento Hospital. You know where that is? Not there anymore, is it? Moseley? Sorrento Hospital?
Yeah.
You know, I couldn't find it if you asked me now, but I've not lived in Brum for so long. But grew up Kings Heath.
Yeah.
Left when I was a teenager, and believe it or not, never lived in Brum since. But come back for the football, obviously.
When you're at St Andrews and you're doing your bit on a game, is that always extra special for you?
Yeah, I've not done that many blues games. I mean, because I've never worked in the media in Birmingham. You know, I worked in local radio in South Wales, in Hampshire. My patch was local radio, the equivalent of what BRMB was down in Hampshire. Doing Portsmouth and Southampton. You know, Pompey and Saints, a bit like Blues and Villa. Pompey were Blues, the Saints were Villa. One was a working club, and Southampton was kind of a bit, you know, they're up themselves a little bit, you know.
Prawn sandwiches.
And a little bit like that, yeah. And so I a couple of times I covered Pompey Blues games, but when I went to Sky, I did a couple of Blues Villa games, which was I've been doing one at St Andrews. I think it was the game when Sorensen chucked it in his own net. Remember that? We beat them 2.
Oh yeah.
Ball was going past the post. He dived across, and he was going past the left-hand post, and he sort of saved it, and then threw it, scooped into his own net.
Yeah.
Of course, I was in the corner down by underneath the police box, corner of the Tilton and the main stand, and all these lads sort of jumped up behind me on the behind my camera, so they were giving it loads. So I was like, get down. I was going to just stick in my ear from back at base, but it's quite funny, you know. But I probably lost my cool as well, because it was we do it one of the probably the last time we beat them, wasn't it? Christ, that would have been back in 2005.
Really?
Last time we beat them in the league. Last time we beat them was the League Cup quarter final.
Oh, yeah. Apart from that, but in the league, yeah.
The league,
yeah. Funny enough, that's another one. God, when you get me going, that was the League Cup game. Was the day before the World Cup. Remember the World Cup announcement the next day, whether England were going to get the 2018 World Cup?
Oh yeah, yeah.
And Karen was all over it. Karen Brady's, everyone's got to behave, and it all went, you know what, and so it was all over the news. I was doing it for Sky, and I was with a Greek friend who lives down south with me. We went up to the game, and he was like, "What's going on here?" And then it was all over the news that night and the next morning. And of course, Karen was sick and tired of, she was fed up because I thought it was going to affect the bid. It didn't affect the bid as it happened because we didn't get anywhere near because of Russia got it and everything else, and we got 2 votes or something. But I remember the timing was terrible. Everyone was thinking, "Oh Christ, typical Blues."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chris, what made you fall in love with the Blues, and what made you become a fan of Birmingham City Football Club?
Cool, that's a good question. Dad, basically. I go way back. My dad taught me. I'm gonna say way back. I'm talking World Cup year, 1966. Probably even before that, when I was very little. My dad used to have a season ticket on the front row of the main stand, level with a penalty area at the Tilton end, straight in line with that. I remember sitting on his knee, going in. He'd push me through the turnstile, and I'd sit on the front row watching. And that's where it all. I was pretty young, and going to, especially remember going to night games, and thinking, this is for me.
Yeah,
You only need to go once, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, I try to remember. It's quite sad really because I can't remember my first game. I reckon it was before the '66 World Cup because I seem to remember my dad banging on about Terry Hennessy, right? And the first Blues team I saw, I think, were wearing blue shirts and white shorts, not blue, which was '66 onwards, I think, wasn't it? None of you are old enough, I don't think, but I seem to think. I think it was. I went to the odd game before this. Of course, when we won the World Cup, everyone flooded in after that. Everyone, that following season, I went every year. Then pretty much every home game. When I was older, I started going to the away games as well. But yeah, that's it really. My dad. I mean, he used to work in the Bank of England in Brum. He's no longer with us, sadly, but. He and his mates we used to go to every game. Some of the aways, but always the home game. So we just got dragged along, me and my older brother. And that first time I went in, that's the smell, everything. As a young kid, my dad used to say to me, I was watching the crowd more than the game, and I was, because it was in those days we were getting 40,000. I can remember the cup runs in '67 and '68. Anybody else here?
No, my first game was '73.
Wasn't born.
Yeah, but I can remember there was a few night games along the way there, and I couldn't believe, it was just like my whole world was just captured me, and I've just ever since, that when somebody says to me, I was down at Portsmouth, and somebody said to me once as a Pompey fan, I asked him what it meant to be a Pompey fan. He said it's a gut feeling. It's quite a good way of putting it.
Good way of putting it, yeah.
Describe it really. It's kind of gut feeling, and you can't shed it after when it's there. It's kind of, you're not choosing; it's just there, isn't it?
That's it.
Time I was, I'd hit double figures. I felt like a veteran. I've got a younger brother who started going as well, and he was, and I used to think, oh, you've seen nothing, lad. I was only 10 or 11, and I'd been going for 4 or 5 years, So, magic really, and I've never lost that really. It's kind of, it's a bit of a shame now that it's all a bit like a churchyard when you go there, but
Yeah.
In those days, it's just I can't describe what I felt like when I was there, really.
Yeah,
Chris, did you go to the Fulham game, Chris, where we stayed up at the last minute?
Which one? Oh, the recent. No. Recent years.
That was the last proper atmosphere at St Andrews.
No, I didn't go to that one. No, it was good.
That was the last proper atmosphere at St Andrews, right? With 28,000 in, and it used to be double that, hadn't it? When that cock started roaring, man, there was nothing like it on this earth.
Yeah, listen, I mean, I've been to loads of full houses in the new ground, but I mean, I'm trying to think the best atmosphere I can remember in the new ground when it's been full would probably be the first playoff semi-final against Watford. Anyone remember that?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh.
When we scored in the second minute, some bloke landed on me from about 10 rows behind.
Probably me.
Yeah, it was a bit like you actually. No, yeah, that was a tremendous atmosphere. I remember that night. It was
Yeah.
it was
Yeah, I remember that.
shaking.
Yeah.
And the League Cup semi-final against Ipswich. I was with Ipswich.
Ipswich.
funnily enough.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
was
that was
I don't know
incredible.
why, but I was in the Railway on that night. I was on the I think it was in the top. Was it the top tier then? Then maybe it wasn't. But anyway, I was in the Railway end, and that was an amazing atmosphere as well. You know, I know you
Yeah.
shouldn't say it, but all the pitch invasions, all that stuff. You know, it's just. I mean, it was just St Andrews when it goes. It's just an amazing place, isn't it?
Nothing like it. There's nothing like it.
Quick message for Chris Brown. Can you check the volume levels on everybody, please, mate? Okay, buddy. Thank you very much. Nice one. Thanks.
So did you keep going regular, Chris, through like the 70s, 80s, and 90s as well?
Yeah,
and
when I left Brum when I was, believe it or not, I was 14 and a half, and my dad left. He retired early, and
Yeah.
we went to live in Wales, in Pembrokeshire, lovely place. A lot of Brummies live down in Pembrokeshire.
Yeah, I've got family there. Yeah.
Yeah, lots of them. And I can remember leaving, and I just, I was completely torn because it's a lovely place and everything. I thought, God, I'm going to go and live by the sea and all that. But I just, I mean, half of me was going, I can't, because for one reason only, and it was the football.
Blues.
Yeah. And I thought, what are we going to do? But what happened was that we used to come back every week.
Yeah.
Every home game anyway, because my granddad lived in Kings Heath. So we used to go and see him and go to the game. And then and that went on for first couple of years probably. But yeah, but I went to college then, and I used to go. I was down in London, so I used to go to all London games and pick my games, the home games. But I've been going on, on and off, throughout my life really, even though I've not lived in Brum for many years.
Yeah.
It's just there. But when you work in the media, it's as any sports person will tell you, it's. You work at the weekends a lot, so it's difficult. But
it's hard.
Yeah,
it's all the big. I've been to all the big games always.
Yeah. Tell us how that come about. Then, how did you start working in the media, Chris?
Well, I did. I went to college in London, and when I left, I didn't have a clue what I wanted to do. I didn't have a clue, but I could write because I got us an arts degree, and I started doing hospital radio down in Wales. My folks ran a pub down on the beach in a place called Knowlton in Pembrokeshire, which is near Newgale, if anyone knows it. Lovely place. So I started doing stuff for the local paper, started doing stuff on the hospital radio. Then I got into local radio down in South Wales, and it went from there really. And then I got a job down in Hampshire. So I was doing a bit of DJing, bit of
all smashing nicely, mate. All for a Monday morning. It's all for charity.
But I didn't do it for the music. I mean, I'm a massive music fan, but not stuff you listen to on local radio. It's more sort of underground and alternative stuff. But I did that local radio, and then I got a chance to. I lost my job, and Sky was just starting, and I was in the right place at the right time.
Yeah,
and I was there for 25 years. Amazing place to work in the 90s. Now it's very corporate, and it's not, but in the 90s when it was new and there was just there's fewer channels, Sky was it took a chance. It wasn't risk taking, but it was kind of edgy. This is in the days before Sky Sports News. This is when I was working for Sky News doing the sports. And I met many a Blues fan on when I was doing stories. And they because everyone who had a dish would sort of tune in and see the sport at 20 past, and I was lucky enough I was in the studio a lot, but I was lucky enough to get out as well. And I did 7 World Cups in a row, which was fantastic.
Wow.
You meet, I will be getting around to writing a book soon. Well, hopefully, but it'll be a bit blues and a bit of England and all sorts of stuff, but great fun,
Excellent.
Yeah. That's how I started really, and it kind of a happy accident really. I didn't really know what was going to happen, but it just went, and then it's like you follow like life, like our anthem, isn't it? Keep right on, you journey on. You don't know what's around the corner, it's one thing to another. And before I knew it, I was on the telly, and you're thinking, Christ, didn't really plan this, but a fantastic experience. And
there's a question coming in from one of our listeners, John Smith. He wants to know where you got that photograph of the ground behind you.
Yeah. That is, I'll tell you who gave that is a limited edition print under when Karen Brady put it out in about 93 or something.
Right.
And this one is signed. Barry Fry gave it. My dad on his 70th. We went to was a game. Which game was it? We played in the depths of our crapness, in the early 90s. I think it was against. Was it Tranmere? We won 5-0. It was a night game. Jonathan Hunt was playing, people like that. It was quite good.
Would have been mid-90s more so then, I'd say.
Yeah, mid-90s. It was 94. It was 94 because my dad's 94. And Barry Fry gave him the picture because I knew Barry very well, through TV. That's one of the bonuses, you do get to meet a lot of people and footballers.
Make contact, yeah.
Yeah, you do. And Baz is brilliant. Lovely Barry. Every time I see him now, we always get on like a house on fire. But he gave my dad a tie and took him in the changing rooms, gave him this picture, which I've still kept,
Lovely gesture. Very nice.
Yeah.
I used to stand. See if I can. Right, I stood about there.
I tell you what, Chris. Chris.
Yeah.
I was about 3 places behind you with an air on. I always had an air on every week.
Yeah. Do you know what though? People stand in the same place. I can remember.
Yeah, they do.
Looking around, the same faces every. You always stand here, don't you?
You do.
And occasionally, if I have a mate with me or something, because I did live in Brum then. Don't forget. I did until I was 14. But when we used to always come back, and I'd bring mates with me, all kinds of people. And I'll take him further back in the madness at in the back of the cop, And,
it was mad, wasn't it? It was mad.
Yeah. I remember a couple of times because we lived in Wales and I lived near RAF Brawdy, which is a RAF base it's no longer open, but there was a US base there, and I took a couple of lads on separate trips to Blues games. One of them, the first one was the FA Cup 5th round against West Ham. Do you remember that? And it kicked off in a big way.
Oh yes, I do remember that. Yeah,
game was almost abandoned, not quite, but it was with this American guy, and he was going, "Man, why are they brawling?" And it was, I took him around town in the night, and he was like wide-eyed, saucer-eyed, And the second time, another American guy, we went to the Villa Blues game in '83 at Villa Park, the Battle of Brum, which is on YouTube. That incredible game, and it poured down rain. Remember that one? When Blakey nutted Steve McMahon at the end, and it was just a war. I mean, we lost 1-0. Peter Wyth scored, but I was with this American guy, and he just didn't know what was going on. We were in the Whitton end behind in the lower Whitton, and it was just pouring rain, and it was it was all kicking off all over the place. And this guy was going, "Man, what's going on?" He really enjoyed it, but it was great to share that.
Welcome to Birmingham.
Yeah, it was good. But yeah, great, loads of experiences like that. And but I used to stand that spot on the halfway line on the Kop. Saw some great games there. Leeds 73, 52,000. Remember that one?
Yeah.
Nearly beat them. Yeah, all the cup games. After that. 75.
The Notts County game where we. Did you go to the Notts County game where we got promoted, didn't we? Notts County game. Yeah.
3-3 draw. Yeah, I went to that. Yeah.
Yeah, cracking.
I was in the main stand for that game.
I was on the pitch afterwards, and I pinched a piece of grass, and I had it in a matchbox for years and years and years. I haven't got a clue where it's gone to now.
I'll tell you.
I can. Sorry, Chris. I can remember standing in pretty much exactly where you did, pretty much around that area in '91 when we played Brentford in the first leg in the Leyland Daft Cup semi-final.
Leyland Daft,
yeah. Was that when Dacey scored? Wasn't it? Was it 2-0?
No, that was against Norwich. So I think Ian Rogerson got one. I remember that.
It was a league game, wasn't it? It was a league game. So didn't Brentford go up the same year we did? And we
Oh yeah, I think the league game. That was 95, wasn't it? 94, 95. Yeah, this was 91.
And we won the Leyland Daft or whatever it was, the auto windscreens then, and beat Brentford in a league game as well towards the end of the season. Remember Dash?
Yeah.
That was the
3 days later, wasn't it?
Something like that.
Yeah, it was like 3. We won up
Blues games. I did a commentary for Capital Radio London because I worked for them for a while. Before I joined Sky, on that Brentford Blues second leg, the one when we got to the final.
Simon Sturridge
scored. Yeah,
I went there.
That was the first time I'd done a commentary on a Blues game. Quite difficult to, and I was doing it for a London audience because Capital wasn't in Birmingham then. It was the original Capital London, with Jonathan Pearce and Mick Lowe's, people like that. And I remember I went nuts when we scored. You can imagine,
And if anybody out there, if anybody thinks that it's easy to do live commentary, turn your TV down next time there's a game on and try it. It is one of the most difficult jobs you can possibly have
It's not easy.
in the media, I think.
Yeah, telly commentary is different
Oh,
to radio commentary, because radio commentary, you're being the eyes of the listener, you know. So you got to describe, you know, explain. But telly commentary, you know, anything in telly, you don't say too much, because
No,
you
I'm talking radio commentary. Yeah, yeah.
People have got eyes; they can see what's going on. So you don't say it's starting to bleed and obvious. You know, people can see what's going on. You know? That's the art of it.
It's a tough job, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
Right, Chris, some questions coming in. First one from Adam Wilkes. What's Chris' thoughts on having safe standing zones in stadiums?
All for it.
All for it.
Yeah, I can't be doing
Rebuild the cop for me. Rebuild the old cop.
I went to Germany in 2006 World Cup. I remember England's first game was in Frankfurt, I think, when we played, was it Ecuador?
Paraguay.
Was it Paraguay, was it?
Yeah.
We won anyway.
Oh, Paul will remember everything.
He's Mr. Encyclopedia. He is.
I think it was. Anyway,
Paraguay, wasn't it? Yeah, I think it was Paraguay.
But they had those things, you know, those barriers, and they turned into seats. And I remember doing a piece before the game about that. And that's 14 years ago. And it was, you know, so it turned into rails. You know, there's nothing wrong with it at all. There was no way, you know, it's not dangerous. But everyone stands anyway, don't they? I mean,
Yeah.
Especially at away games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the next one, then, Chris said from John Smith. How does Chris rate Blues Villa Derby atmosphere compared to others as we get overlooked by the national media because of the loving with Manchester and Merseyside?
You know, I don't think that's the case anymore, because ever since we got back into the Premier League in 2002, both the derbies in the first year, if you ask anybody around the country as a neutral, those two derbies were the best viewing for neutrals of any derby you'll ever see. I mean, they were incredible games, weren't they?
Oh God, yeah.
You know, it was going off all over the place, wasn't it? But you know, there was a time when, and it's still, people know the Blues Villa derby now is one. If you go online and look under best rivalries, Blues is very high. Blues Villa, 20, 30 years ago, that wouldn't have been the case. No. But since the Premier League years, and our derbies have been so good, and there's always something happening in them, people have kind of got. You know, people appreciate it, and people, it's kind of appointment for you to view now. I wouldn't sit and watch a Norwich Ipswich game probably, or you know, I watch it if I know it's going to be very edgy. You know, that's appointment to view TV for me. And,
so working in the
you get it now.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Working in the media, then, right? Okay. Now we've had the introduction of VAR last year. Yeah. There was one very dubious goal that kept a certain football club in the Premier League, and it was definitely a goal. We've all seen it go over the line. What's your thoughts on it?
If you saw my Twitter feed at the time, I was all over the place with it. You know, I mean, it was a disgrace, wasn't it, really? But didn't turn it on.
Shocking.
But it was the first game back, so if there was mitigating circumstances, it was, you know, it's the first game back.
With VAR, there shouldn't be any mitigating circumstances.
So I did say on the
crystal
night.
Clear.
Watch Villa stay up by a point. You'll find my tweet on my time on my.
Oh yeah.
Sure enough.
Yeah, I remember thinking it at the time as well when it happened. But
yeah, listen, you know, I think I like VAR for goal line. That's the only thing I like it for.
Yeah.
I don't like anything else. Don't like it. I remember another one just reminded me of when we played Pompey in the cup. When was it?
Yeah.
Years ago?
Oh yeah, it's 2010, wasn't it? Yeah.
Liam Ridgewell scored.
Ridgewell, yeah.
Bloody miles over the line. I was in line with it. You know, I
was beyond that. Yeah.
We were rubbish. We didn't deserve to win, but that was a goal, and that
was a blatant goal. Yeah.
It was. I was, you know, with my old Pompey mates. Then I was thinking, you know, and they were laughing at me, saying, you know, God, you're as bad as us. You know, there's a kind of kinship there, you know.
I think it's good for offside as well, though. When you think back to Lee Bowyer in the Carling Cup final, and you know, goals that we've scored were or decisions that have been wrong because they've been given offside. I mean, Lee Bowyer's probably the one I can think of, you know, off my head. The Carling Cup against Arsenal, when he went through and he was brought down.
Yeah, first, early door, yeah.
That was
yeah, but he was given offside, and he was yards. He was about a yard on.
Oh, is that what it was? Yeah, I remember. But that day's a blur to me. I tell you. But talking about referees and controversial decisions and finals, 2001.
Oh yeah, League Cup final.
Well, we all remember that. I mean, what an amazing weekend that was.
Yeah.
Following about 2 weeks later, I was working on Sky News doing the sports half hour, and by luck, David Ellery was the guest.
Oh, I just strangled him. I just strangled him on live TV.
I
killed him.
I'll buy my time here. So we got talking. He's a bit like he's a school teacher by trade, and he's a bit like that. And I said to him, "Why didn't you give that the honcho on AJ?" And he sort of looked a bit sheepish and said, "I didn't see it as a penalty." That's what he said. We didn't expand on it. Listen, I know it's not easy being a ref, and you only get one look, but it was a real shame. But that's what he said. He said he didn't see it as a penalty. What can you say? I mean, replay. I mean, it was a shame because of the VAR, because it was a definite pen.
Yeah, Graham Haynes is asking live now, and thanks to Graham as well for finding the footage of Ian Bennett's penalty save.
Oh yeah.
From Alan Shearer from 2000 and the year 2000, wasn't it?
Have we got that now, Paul?
1999. Sorry,
99 it was. Yeah.
Yeah. So Graham's
Have we
asking
got the
Chris.
footage for that now?
Yeah. Graham Haynes put the Newcastle United.
Absolutely unbelievable. Well done, Graham.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what,
Graham.
Benno's never seen it before. He'd never seen it since it happened. Never even once watched it. He said he can't find it anywhere. So Graham, well done to you, my friend.
Yeah,
Bless
well
you.
done.
For some reason, it's not on any Blues footage at all.
Can't find it anywhere.
No.
It was
But you know what the
Newcastle
weird
United.
thing is, Paul? Paul, you know what the weird thing is, right? And I said to Benno, don't say that, mate, because I tell you what, we'll guarantee almost that somebody will find it for
Somebody
you.
will find it.
Yeah.
Yeah, to be the Newcastle United season review though, to find it, not the Blues one.
That's superb, then. That's absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
But yeah, so hang on, I've lost his question now. I'll give him all that build up, and now I've lost his question. So what does Chris think of our current owners? Graham's asking Chris.
Ooh, don't get me started. It's been a decade of mismanagement, hasn't it?
Yeah.
When Carson came in, I thought, okay, and winning the League Cup so quickly, everyone thought, blimey,
Dizzy heights.
Yeah, what a terrible shame we got relegated. 2 months later, not even that. I was at Tottenham that day, and I was with Alex after the game, and I remember saying to him, "Don't leave." What happened? After that, well, obviously, listen, Carson was sadly, he was a crook, and he's been inside, now, I mean, the owners now are the result of what happened there, aren't they? It was pushed.
No doubt. Without a doubt.
It stayed in Hong Kong. To me now, it's so murky that the biggest thing for me is two things. They brought an administrator. I haven't met Ren Dong, and listen, he might be under all kinds of pressure, and he might, they say, I know some people have met him and say he's quite a bright guy and he's quite pleasant, but he doesn't have any experience. That is a big problem for me. As an administrator, you can't run a football club properly without experience. Now, beyond that, you've got, it's all about the listing of the Hong Kong Stock Exchange listing, isn't it? And the beef I have now is that we just don't know who's funding the club. I was at ITN doing a piece on Wigan the other week, and there was a guy from the Football Sports Association, I think, and it was a great quote from him, and he was dead right, saying a lot of people just do not know who owns their football clubs. Problem, and the Football League just sit by and let it happen. Hopefully that's going to change. The process will change for the better. But how many clubs are there around the country now that don't really know who's running them? That is a big problem for me. And it's all very well. Ren Dong, he's done okay this year since the he got Karanka in and he was full of it, and he's obviously started to engage. I think the reason he did that was because he was pretty pleased with himself. And it's a natural human thing to do that, isn't it? So he's got a good guy in, we hope. However, I just wish the whole thing would be a little bit more transparent, right through to Mr. King. I know Harry very well. Harry met Mr. King and the owners, but didn't know who they were. It was a mysterious kind of. group, really, and we don't know anything how he's funding it. That's a real problem, and there's always that danger that we could go the same way as Wigan. I'm sure it's difficult for Rendon because he's been brought in by the owners to run the club. He's doing as best he can. He's not very experienced. He's learning, hopefully, and you get the impression he's not comfortable about talking. The guys who employ him. But one thing about football is that the fans are always there. Owners, players, managers come and go. The ones who underpin the whole thing are us five here, and thousands of others. They're the ones who should be informed. It's pretty sad. It's a real indictment of the game that people who put the money into the club and who are there through thick and thin don't know what's going on. That's so. In answer to that question, I'm a bit underwhelmed, to be honest. But ultimately, if you win, if the club is doing well, then people see past that, don't they? As we saw at the end of last season. This is our worst run since 1986. Is
that right? Yeah,
I believe so. Yeah.
Really?
And that's we saw what happened at the end of the last campaign. I mean, that which was the game when behind closed doors, but Rendon got not attacked, but he was confronted outside the stadium. I think it shook him up a little bit. It's just we're losing games, and people don't see any direction and have no idea where the club is going, and that's not right.
No.
Well, to go 7 months without a win. Shocking.
I think you're saying that more as a fan as well, though, aren't you, Chris? I'm saying you're saying that from a fan's point of view, not a media point of view.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, you look at it from both sides, but as a fan, I think it's pretty in the dark, really. And that's
it's a Blues way, though, isn't it?
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm sure ultimately a happy ship, a winning ship, is a happy ship. When you start losing, that's when the wheels really start to go. And
Definitely.
I think this coming season is going to be very interesting.
Well, we've had one game and lost that one so far. Cambridge, come on, Cambridge.
I think we need to obviously ride until the transfer window's closed and Karanka's got whatever players in he wants. And it's probably going to take us till probably later this month or even mid-October to get some sort of rhythm going and get the lads to know each other and get something going on the pitch. Because it's going to take time for any manager, doesn't it? So
definitely.
If they make a bad start, though, I mean, it'll start. They need to get a win soon, really.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's 7 months. It's going to become 8 months. It's going to become 9 months. I mean, listen, there's a few players to come back. So the side that played at the weekend was pretty weak, wasn't it? Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Well, that's the left side of the weekend was probably weaker than the one that finished the last season.
I think you're probably right. Yeah. I mean,
But having said that, it was an unexpected result, and well, you look at the other scores. I'm not justifying it, but is it a massive shock early rounds of the cup these days? I don't know.
I don't know. I think it was a bit of a shock. I mean, none of us saw that coming, did we?
I didn't see it coming.
No.
I did not see it coming.
No, I did not. No.
I thought, but it's morale's quite low at the moment. But there's no goals. There's no strikers.
I don't see that, Chris, to be honest with you. Morale being quite low. You've got a new gaffer coming in. Ivan Sanchez has turned up today. The
winning habit is gone. It's as Karanka said after the game, you go a goal behind and the head's straight down. Because it's.
But that's not the Birmingham City way, though, is it?
Forgotten how to do it. So, when Djukovic comes back and a few others, it'll look a different side. I'm not sure about. I can see why Karanka's brought in his ex-Borough boys because that's what managers do.
They always do, yeah.
That's what they do. I'm not sure it's for the longer term. It's the right. I mean, the two guys over 30. George Friend seems a really nice guy. I don't know much about Clayton, but he's a bit awesome. It's just basically says to me that he is the kind of guy who is going to maintain that Karanka style, which is very solid at the back, protect the back four, a couple of holding midfielders, and will be quite hard to beat. But at the other end, I just don't know where the goals are going to come from.
Well, we got
Scott Hogan coming back.
Yeah, there's talk of that. We got Lepo and Sanchez to come as well. But I think one good sign for me is that Karanka is making decisions on transfers, isn't he? And who comes in? I mean, obviously Clayton and Friend tell you that. So that's definitely
it was a long deliberation, wasn't it, over the contracts? I mean, I heard various things about that. The backroom staff as a sticking point. I think Blues. I think Dong has got. He wants a project. He wants to do it properly now. But I think they wanted him and not necessarily any baggage. Basically, we haven't got any money. That's the problem. That's one thing. And well, don't get me started really on the recruitment. I hope that managers and future managers will get a say. I mean, there seems to be more and more directors of football now. I don't know a lot about Christian Speakman, but again, he's not, isn't a massive amount of experience, I don't think, from what I know from people I've spoken to as well. So we're kind of winging it a bit. I can see the idea. I can see, I think it's good that you're thinking long term, but my problem is, the personnel is just a bit weak who are running the club.
Long term certainly isn't 30-odd-year-olds, though, is it?
Sorry?
Long term certainly isn't 30-odd-year-olds.
It isn't. No, that's why I'm saying. Clayton. If it's a project, but I think it's just managers always do it. They bring in players. No, he's come in here and he's obviously had to be persuaded to join the club. He's got the majority of his backroom staff in. It took ages. They were talking for ages, weren't they?
Yeah.
And obviously part of the discussion is the projects and how who's going to he wants control. No manager wants to be told what to do.
No, but when you look back to the last time we were promoted, I'm not even saying for a second that's going to happen this season, or it could, but I'm just saying that last time we went up, we had Carsley in the team, we had Stephen Carr, we had Kevin Phillips, Boya. We signed players at the wrong end of 30, and it has worked for us in the past, in the short term, hasn't it?
Yeah, that's true. But there were players who've been around. It was. McLeish was a canny guy. But if we're talking a project, it's where you start really. I mean, it's a long. The biggest single thing I think we lack is a proper structure at the club. The first thing you've got to get right is the infrastructure, right? Yeah. Solid foundation, and then you start to build the building blocks from there. So we've kind of done it backwards a little bit. They're sort of, they've jumped in and now they've got to think of a way forward.
It's a shame, really, because we're always well known for our academy and our, bringing the youngsters through and whatever, and the structure was there. What happened? What happened? I mean, they're still coming through, but they're going.
Yeah, they're not hanging around, are they?
The kids.
Yeah, the kids. Yeah.
Well, Robert was saying he didn't feel enough to have gone out on loan. That's maybe true.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
that's a good point. Yeah,
he felt that, and I know that that his thoughts. I think the guys around the club didn't really appreciate that they didn't agree with him saying that. He told me.
Okay, lots of interesting questions coming in. One from Chris Redden from a small while ago. Hi, Chris. Do Sky like Blues? As we always get the feeling that they don't.
I'll let you into a little secret. There's a little clique of people at Sky in high places from across the expressway.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. Yeah.
You answered the question.
Very good pal of mine, who I've known since he was a teenager, is now running Sky Sports, and he's a big Villa fan.
Oh dear.
He's a nice lad. And he's
crying out loud. We've had him in government. We've got a prince. Now we've got the head of Sky.
Yeah.
What's going on?
The head of Sky Sports was a Villa fan. The head of Sky Football now is a Villa fan.
That's me not watching Sky Sports again.
No, that's it.
But yeah, there's a few of them around actually. I've always run the gauntlet wherever I've gone. I mean, Blues are never the most popular club anywhere.
No.
But it just makes me dig my heels in even more. So, but what was the original question? Sorry, you were going to say
Regarding whether Sky loves us or not, I think that's what
Yeah,
it is.
well,
Yeah.
listen, they love the clubs that are going to get the most viewers for them, and that's the big six.
Money, money, money. Oh, sorry, I was just singing a song.
We're pleased that Leeds have gone up. I don't dislike Blues, but I mean, there is a little Villa mafia at Sky. But listen, it's
That's like the revelation of the world, that is, Chris.
I
can't believe this.
No, I mean, it's like we have a great banter all the time. Over the years. I mean, I'll give as good as I get. There's a few Blues fans at Skudder. There were. I don't work there anymore, but I worked there for a long time. There's a few still there, but we're generally outnumbered by them. And, Funny enough, it's interesting. I mean, I don't know why it's Sky. There's always there's some Palace fans there. I've never quite understand that, but it seems like half South London, I support Crystal Palace. But it's great. I mean, that's a good thing about when I've not lived in Brum, so I kind of that sort of when you live outside, you're extra defensive. It touches a nerve more often, so you're always sort of fighting the corner. You get that kind of banter, so. I quite like that actually, and you see, people from different clubs in different parts of the country, not from their own parts of the country, and you kind of get a feel of that kind of, where that kind of bit like how big how popular Blues and stuff. I think people respect Blues for being a very honest, no nonsense, no bull, well, people know that about the club, don't they? It's
absolutely, yeah.
Don't take themselves too seriously.
Salt of the earth sort of thing. Yeah,
exactly. And I think people like that about Blues.
Yeah.
Okay. One from Ray Hobro here. Question for Chris: what one thing would you do or change to bring football fans back? Well, I've got two: standing and pucker pies.
Definitely pucker pies.
I'll tell you what I'd do. I'd halve the price of admission.
Yeah.
Half the price of admission.
Yeah.
When we were kids, there was never ever any occasion when you thought, "Oh, can't afford to go."
Can't afford it. Yeah. That's
that
right. We had this conversation before.
We all went, and we'd turn up, with our half a crown in the pocket, or duck under the turnstiles or whatever.
Yeah.
And everybody went. I mean, and given that the TV money. It might start to drip soon, but it's what pretty much props up the clubs.
Yeah.
What would you rather, an half-empty stadium or a full one? If that would bring people back, I think. And if people don't enjoy the experience, if there's no atmosphere,
no,
people aren't going to come back. So I'd halve the prices. I really would. I'd make for a championship game, £15.
Yeah, tops.
Across the board.
Get them in now. You got to get the kick.
Germany have done it for years. Germany have done it for years.
Exactly. Yeah.
It cost £2 bob. I mean,
That's
why
right.
can't we do that?
I've got to say hello to GA. He's listening in tonight, and of course Leonard Edgington, all the way from Queensland, Australia, who gets up at around about 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning to listen to the show. Welcome to you.
Welcome.
Right. Okay. Any more questions? Yeah. Chris, sorry, Paul, have you got the questions from in the week, mate?
I have indeed, mate. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you want to go?
What we do, Chris, is we just put out there on our page just to ask anyone if they've got any questions for our special guest. So I'll just ask you a few that have been asked. So Cole Sparrow's asking, what was the hardest interview you have ever taken with a Blues player? From Ryan, aged 8.
With a Blues player.
Difficult one.
Ryan, aged 8. I remember being 8, watching Blues, and I was your age. Right. That's going back a few years.
Yeah. But that's the age you've got to get
I've
them
never had a hard interview with a Blues player. I've got to be honest. I mean, So no, I mean, I'm not working in the city. I've not covered that many Blues games. I mean, I've done England, all the, but nobody's giving me a hard interview really.
No. We can change it to favourite then. Who was your favourite Blues player to interview? Maybe.
Trev.
Yeah.
I've known Trev since he was for a long time.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen it, I did a podcast with him. It's on my did a thing called Rock and Gold podcast. Which is,
Oh yeah, I think I saw a bit of that. Yeah.
we had a good chat about that. And of course, it's the 50th anniversary of the first game. Was
Cool.
Oh, since the debut, yeah.
Yeah, a couple of days ago, wasn't it? Yeah.
I can remember, what days they were. I saw his home debut when he scored against Oxford at Tilton and in off the post. So all those games, 12 goals, 8 games, 12 goals in 8 games when he was 16.
Wow.
Yeah, 15 and 15 it was.
Yeah.
We almost went far off getting promoted that season, and of course we went up the following season when he was 17. 17, turned 18 at the end of the promotion season. But he was, his goals were, and I'll tell you, when we won the League Cup in 2011, I did a thing at Wembley with him and with Trevor and Ray Parler before the game. And I was lucky enough to have a kick around on the pitch on the day before, something for the Sun or something. And I said to Trev, can you remember those, the 70-71 season? And he couldn't remember really the goals. But I can remember them all. I remember the one against Carlisle when he was just a worldie. And I remember him 2 or 3 games when he ran from the halfway line and just ran from the halfway line. He's not passing to anybody. Just right around the school. It was like watching Rooney, but he was quicker and still sort of smaller. And he couldn't really remember. And I don't know if you, it was the same age as me. Chris, is it? Ish.
I'm about the same. Yeah. I think I'm a year.
Do you remember?
A year older.
You probably remember about 3 or 4 months ago now when Jude's was really hitting the headlines. And the Sun did a big spread on his move to who's going to. The back page was like 50 million quid for the teenager, blah blah. And there's a big spread on the inside. I can remember the same thing with Trevor in 1970. It was a national thing when he was, in the days when we were just such an unfashionable club, and it was a national. I mean, he shot to fame not just at our level, but across the board. I had the copy of the Sun, and I kept it for 50 years, 40 whatever years it was. And I said to Trevor, "Do you remember that?" And he said, "No, don't remember that." So I gave it to him, and he was very nice about it, and he wanted to show his kids. It was a splash really when he was 16, and all those things, and all those games that he couldn't really remember because none of them were filmed. As I said on Twitter the other day, none of that season was filmed. 70-71, 71-72 promotion season. Trevor was such a brilliant player. I mean, he didn't. It's hard to describe really. I said to him, years later, I said, was it coached out of you? Because he used to get the ball. Do you remember when Rooney first came in and he got the ball and it was against West Brom, I think, for Everton. And he got the ball and he put his hands on his hips and he stood on the ball and said, come and get it off.
Come and get it.
You remember that? I thought, that's it. And Trevor was a bit like that, but he wasn't a show off.
No.
But he'd get the ball and he'd go, right, where's the goal?
Yeah.
And he'd set off. And he said, he got told off a few times because he just thought he could score from the halfway line every time. Because he had that, he was so quick and he had that dribbling skill. And half the time they came off, and we were, as young kids, we were just like, everyone flocked to St Andrews, just to see this kid, it was fantastic, super boy. I think somebody did get coached out of it eventually. He got injured, of course, a few times, but they were great days. They really were. And it's just a shame he didn't really remember that much about them when he was, slipping a kid at 16.
Yeah. And of course, when he left as well, when he left to Nottingham Forest, I was doing 2 paper rounds a day, and that paid for my train fare, entry fare, and a couple of beers at the age of probably 15. I shouldn't really say that, but and that was as it was, And I walk into the paper shop this one morning, I pick all my papers up, and of course they're all facing the front. You never look at the back, so all you want to do is go and get them done, job done. And I get part way around, and I turn to the back page. Trevor Francis has been sold. I just sat on the curb and cried.
Heartbroken.
I cried, honestly.
It was the same with Bob Latchford as well. I remember when Bob went. It was like, no,
that was a shock as well.
Earlier, wasn't it?
Yeah. But that was a horrible day when Trevor went. Yeah, horrible.
We had a great team then, though, didn't we?
Oh, fabulous team! Great days, great days, the glory days.
The best team we've had since the mid '50s, when my dad would tell me about Gould and all these people.
Yeah.
But that early '70s team, no question, was our best team.
No.
Yeah, Pete Taylor's just put a good interjection in here. My mum always tells me how good Francis was for us, but not the same player for England, though. Any ideas why you think that might have been?
When he got injured, I mean, he should have been picked for England when he was 18.
Yeah,
but didn't for various. He got injured, and it was like, the kid's too young. You know, it was in those days. Nobody aged 18 got picked for England.
Yeah.
And then he eventually got picked when he was 21, I think it was. Or 21.
Yeah.
And he did Achilles the weekend before Sheffield United. Remember it well?
Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
Went to Sheffield United. It was, Francis finally gets his go. Boom.
Yeah.
It's gone.
Thousands of Blues fans down to Wembley or
How
something.
big
Remember?
he was.
Yeah.
And so really unlucky, one of those players who didn't really. But honestly, I mean, it's. I know we kind of have rose-tinted spectacles a little bit, but he was a special player, Trev, and could have been even better than he was, I think. Just a bit more luck. He was, it was just that. It's a bit like people say Messi, and I often have this argument with people. I mean, to me, the greatest player of all time is Maradona, I think, because he was just a
cheat.
He was a cheat. He was a flawed character, but when he got the ball and he just set off, it was like trying to stop him. Messi in the same way, but there's another quite. He's a bit more fragile mentally, isn't he? And he easily knocked around.
Who sold Trev, Chris? Was it Sir Alf? Somebody's just saying, was it Sir Alf?
That's a good question.
That's a good one, isn't it? Yeah. I got a
Wasn't
feeling.
it Jim Smith?
I'll look it up.
Oh, it's Jim Smith. Yeah.
Was it Jim?
I'm sure.
Yeah,
it's
maybe
Jim.
it was Jim, actually. He was there.
Yeah.
78, 80. It could have well been, actually, just about.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was, actually. Yeah.
Good question. Good question.
That was a good
Yeah.
team. The early team was good, with Frank Worthington and Neil Watmore.
Yeah. Another question coming in from Craig Courtney. He's just saying that the crowd at St Andrews always seems to make the difference, and obviously no win and luckless run since the stadiums have been empty. So we need to get fans back, but only when it's safe. Even at 25% attendance, the ground would sound like a full house compared to now.
Well,
It would.
From what I know, I mean, it won't be long before there'll be crowd. I don't know how they're going to do it, but I imagine season ticket holders will get some kind of
Priority.
I was reading today. I think Stoke are doing something where you buy 11 games or something, where it's because they don't know what's going to happen. You buy the first, and I'd imagine it will be the most loyal. It'll be a bit like a Caps thing, and people who regular, they'll be the ones who get in.
Oh, interestingly, Stoke City. I've been working with a Stokey today. Stoke City have introduced a scheme where the amount of supporters that are allowed into their stadium, half of them get a red season ticket, half of them get a white season ticket, and they alternate games.
Oh, right, that's a good idea.
That's a very good idea.
That is a good idea. Yeah.
However, anybody thought of that in Stoke, I'll never know.
Yeah. Mind you, they have got quite a few season ticket holders, haven't they? We haven't got.
Yes, quite a lot.
They got a good season, Stoke, I think.
Yeah. We haven't really got that many, have we? How many?
We have about 12,000.
12,000. Yeah.
Yeah.
Last season.
Yeah. It was 12.
12,000. It's poor.
So that's awful, isn't it?
It's poor, really.
It was second city club, yeah.
It's very poor. It's very poor.
Yeah, I did it on my media channel, my YouTube channel. I did an interview with Niels de Vos, who's former Sale Sharks rugby CEO and ran UK Athletics until recently, and he's a proper sports administrator, just the sort of guy who should be running Blues really. And he was saying, he's dead right, is we're losing the next generation. It's been happening for a while. The younger kids are just not supporting Blues anymore. It's a family thing. I got mine from my dad, and I'm sure you're the same. But there are, the connection is starting to break. It has been for a while now. So, there are some kids who should be supporting Blues or Villa or whoever who is supporting Chelsea, Liverpool, and he felt that that connection with the club needs to do more to bring them. You've got to really work to get the next generation in.
You do, yeah.
Yeah.
I think the kids nowadays are exposed to so many things. I mean, for example, I've got a 13-year-old, and he's got no interest. He lost interest when he was about 6.
Yeah. But
yeah.
well, there you go.
Yeah.
What?
It is an old cliche, but the kids are the future. You know what I mean?
They are.
They are
Yeah,
definitely.
yeah. Just got a couple more questions as well, if that's okay, from our viewers. So Siobhan Kenny's asking, as a Blue Nose, you've seen the ups and downs of our beloved club and all the emotions that go with it. But for you, have you ever shed any tears of joy or sorrow? And if so, can you remember which ones?
Oh yeah, Carling Cup.
When
final.
Villa went down.
I was laughing so much. Yeah, no, Carling Cup final was the. No, I tell a lie. The first time was. All right, you can tell. You guys can tell me which game this was. It was April. No, you probably can't actually. You're probably not old enough. No, April
I'll have a go.
1972, Hillsborough.
Oh, semi-final.
The semi-final, yeah. Is that the
Fulham.
Semi-final.
Yeah.
Against Leeds.
Against Fulham.
Oh, the Leeds one. No, the Fulham one was 75.
75.
We got to 3 semi-finals in 7 years, didn't we?
Yeah,
68,
yeah.
72, 75.
Yeah.
The Leeds one, I was kind of young, and I remember sitting on it. I mean,
Yeah.
even I can remember it now. I mean, I was just completely overcome. We got battered 3-0.
Yeah.
But that was one of the best sides.
Oh, Roger Hind. Oh,
well, listen, we got promotion that season, but we were up against Billy Bremner, Peter Lorimer, Alan Clark, Mick Jones, Eddie Gray, Johnny Giles. I mean, they were just too good for us. But they were the best team in Europe just about at the time.
Okay.
But I can remember, the one thing, the cop at Sheffield Wednesday was blue and white.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Leeds were bigger than us, but we had twice as many fans as they did.
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
incredible. At that age, I just that was one I at the end I cried.
Chris, when we played Fulham, I was told at the time that it was the biggest ever away following. I think it was something like 42,000.
The replay at Main Road.
Yeah, and the replay at Main Road on the Tuesday night. 26.
Was it pay on the door?
I don't know. But there was.
It was 3 days later, wasn't it?
Yeah, 3 days later, another 28,000 followed.
When the Hillsborough one was and then Joe Gallagher scored, and then the replay. Yeah, I think you might be right. I mean,
at the time, it was the biggest ever away.
Tickets there, everyone just went, and it was just all blue.
I came back.
That was the most disappointed I've ever been.
Oh, cried.
Without question, because I was 15 or something at the time.
Yeah, I was the same.
And I can remember, I just.
Yeah, I came back on a special at 1:30 in the morning, and I had to stand up. There was no seats. It was
the other time I shed tears was the Carling Cup final.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I did.
What about the millennium? What about when we beat Norwich?
Yeah,
we beat Norwich in 02.
Yeah, playoffs there.
The program of the Carling Cup final, and because of that, and I regret it now. They invited me into I was up in the Carling box, which was at the other end where the Blues fans were. And I was with my mum, who went to the 1956 Cup final.
Yeah,
we were walking around the ground. We saw a picture of Gil Merrick in the 1956 Cup final and the Bert Troutman thing. I said, "You were at that game?" She went, "Bloody hell, weren't we?" But I was at the wrong end, and I felt it was weird. Halfway through I tried to get round, but they wouldn't let me.
Oh no!
And it was the weirdest thing, honestly. I felt like I was so disconnected, and just seeing it. I was at the end where Ziggett scored. I was just in this box, and who was I with? I was with Cammy. I was jumping all over Cammy. I remember it was Chris Kamal. But yeah, it was funny. Being not with Blues fans, it was a bit odd. But the rest of my family were there. They were all at the other end, and I was with my mum, sort of trying to make my own little party and all these Arsenal fans.
I was there with 3 sons actually.
At the end of it, I remember walking away from the ground and it was a very odd feeling.
I was actually stunned. I was a bit.
I was very quiet. I didn't know what to say.
Yes, I was surreal. After the game, I was really quiet, and we were back on our train coming back. It was quiet. It was eerie. It was strange. I think we were so shocked. We've just won a cup.
I think we'd all gone numb. We'd all gone numb in shock, hadn't we?
Yeah.
I was like, as well.
Nobody knew what to do. Nobody knew what to do today.
How did you celebrate?
Exactly what I felt like. I didn't know what to do next. I thought, well, what now? Is that it? Is that it?
That's it.
What happens?
Nobody knew what to do.
I almost felt disappointed. It was a very weird feeling.
Yeah.
Is that what it's like?
What happens
I've
next?
promotions before, and I'd found those kind of more exhilarating somehow.
Yeah.
But it was all worth it. I thought, I don't know if you guys went. I did most of the European trips.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I was there with my 3 sons, Chris. Yeah. And when Stevie Carr was leading that team up them steps, I got off that. I tell you what, I've got goosebumps all over me. I promise you. And I said to them, I said, look at this, take it in. This will probably never happen again in my lifetime. Just have this moment. And the tears were just pouring down my face, and they were just looking at me, smiling away. They were loving it. What a brilliant day!
I think at that time I was battling with a steward trying to get around to the Blues fans. I got all the way around, and they wouldn't let me through. I thought, I went back to and had a few beers.
Okay, and the final question is from Adam Wilkes, and he's put, what is the most memorable breaking news story you've covered during your career?
Breaking news.
Cool, there's been a few of them. I mean, you get deaths. I mean, I remember being on air when the 10 got killed and stuff like that. From a football point of view, probably the things that stand out. There's so many of them, really. But I remember we talked about the World Cup earlier. I remember going to. It wasn't the 2018. It was when we tried to get the World Cup in 2006. I remember going to Switzerland, and we got hopelessly useless. I mean, we didn't get any votes at all. But it was the one when remember South Africa were going to get it, and Germany. Yeah. There was a New Zealand guy. His name was Charlie Dempsey, I think his name was, who said, "I'm not voting because I've been got at by all these crooks," and it cost South Africa the tournament. They went on to get it the next tournament, but and he I thought, what, this guy didn't vote, and it cost them the World Cup. And he said, he refused to do it on principle. And I thought, okay. And Germany won it by half a point. And it turned out years later that the guy had accepted money not to vote. It's not extraordinary, it still bothers me that corruption in the game was. But he at the time he said he didn't do, he just didn't want to vote because he'd been got at by, so he refused to vote. But actually, it turned out he'd been paid allegedly. Extraordinary. He's no longer with us. But yeah, things like that. I mean, there's some great. It's quite an exhilarating, industry to be in when you're doing news.
Yeah.
How many World Cups have you been to, Chris?
In the last 7.
So 7.
Yeah,
what's your favourite one?
I mean, if I don't know if if you ever do anything, go to a World Cup because it's the best. I love going to World Cups. Yeah, you get all the different clubs. My favourite one, funnily enough, and you might be surprised by this, was probably Russia. Yeah, I'd say that, people going, not going. I was working for FIFA, but I was down in. The people were just brilliant. I mean, people got it very badly wrong about hooliganism and everything like that. Putin made sure that nobody.
But the media got it wrong, though, didn't they?
They're scared to go. But all the people who went had a really great time, and I went all over the place, and the people were great. They just wanted to be included, and I got quite interested in Russian football since then, and just being, I just like them. The people would, just. Forget all the politics and the communism and all this stuff, and Russians are horrible, untrustworthy. It's nonsense, absolute nonsense. It was, great hospitality. They were really pleased to be that we came. That was a great World Cup, and football was fantastic as well. Japan was fantastic. USA, I went with 94. Went with Ireland. That was great because I was embedded with the team. So great stories with Roy Keane and John Aldridge and Ronnie Whelan and all the boys there. They were brilliant fun, really great fun to be with. And they made the most of it. Had a great South Africa, they've all been good, to be honest.
Was you there when Michael Owen scored his wonder goal against
Argentina?
Wow.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. I can remember I can see it going in now. And I remember turning around. We were sitting in the stand, and I turned around, and to a man, all the England press were up, giving it loads. Just sit there and carry on writing, But everyone was standing on this, it was a brilliant goal, and it was a good tournament as well. Real shame it didn't get further, but it was I mean, different times because that World Cup was the last World Cup when there was lots of trouble, really. 98. after
In
that.
South Africa, Chris, when you was in South Africa, what was your thoughts on the Vuvuzela while you were out there?
Yeah, just you got used to it. You just got used to it. It was made a lot of headlines, but it was kind of like a trumpet, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, it was one thing I will say. I mean, I've done 4 World Cup finals, and all of them stank, useless games. 2002,
Brazil, Germany.
rubbish game.
Still Germany.
2006, that was all right. It was only because of the headbutt, Zidane. 2010, they're never great games.
No,
But
it's too much at stake, isn't there? It's too tense.
But I did go to the 2014. I did the 7-1 game. I was at the 7-1 game. That was quite an experience.
Yeah,
That was quite an experience. Seeing Brazil again. Brazil is such a great football country, and you couldn't help but have a great time there. Really.
Yeah.
The best experiences I've ever had at a football game. This might surprise you. Blues obviously, but outside of that, didn't involve me going to a game at all. It was watching Brazil twice in that tournament. Once was on the beach in Copacabana when they played Chile. There was like a fan zone on the beach, and it was full. You couldn't get anywhere near it. So you had to go around the edge, and to go around the edge, you had to go in the sea. So we were on the beach of the Copacabana, up to my waist in water with thousands of others, just watching Brazil beat Chile. And when they scored, they went on a shootout. It was just an incredible experience. It was just completely unique. It was like fans going nuts, going mad. But imagine Blues get Bolton in the end of that game when they stayed up, that sort of thing. But in the middle of the sea, it was
amazing.
Doing somersaults in the water. It was that one, and also in the following round, they played in a place called Salvador, which is just up there, which is very kind of quite African. It's the bit that sticks out in Brazil. It's halfway to bloody Africa, and I was watching a game in the old town there, where all the people, it was like cobbled streets, narrow, and people put their tellies out the window. Yeah, and the streets were full. Everyone had their yellow shirts on, and you were watching it, and the guys selling drinks in the street, capiranas, which is like a kind of cocktail, and you were kind of watching it. It's like you're in a crowd, but you weren't in the stadium. You were in the, you were really among the people who couldn't afford to go to the games, but they were real football fans. And everybody came out and watching that. It was the game when Neymar got injured. Remember they beat Colombia, but Neymar got injured, and it was just a fantastic experience. I was just unique, but you could never replicate that anywhere else. Really, it was being in a real football country. That kind of blues thing, that gut feeling I talked about earlier. It was a bit like that, and it was just like, this is a really unique experience. So you're really watching it with people that really matter, and it was it was the World Cup in their own country, and it was the best. And the part they won it, the game. And the party afterwards was up all night. It was just unbelievably great,
Yeah, now, I can't believe how quick this time's going again. But we asked you to pick a 1 to 11.
Yeah,
we asked you to do your Blues 1 to 11 from your lifetime so far. The best Blues 11.
Yeah, some of them outside my lifetime, but you just want to pick me just the team,
yeah. Pick a team, 1 to 11. Goalkeeper.
Gil Merrick in goal.
Yeah,
gotta be.
Right back, Davy Langan.
What a player.
Left back. I almost said Gary Pendry because they're part of my youth, really. But I'd say Mark Dennis probably.
Oh yeah.
Centre backs, Kenny Burns, and either Colin Todd or Stan Harland.
Okay.
Stan
So
Harland
60s, 70s lean then.
Yes, early player. Yeah. I mean, it's just whether these players could play together, probably I don't know. But
if they could.
Out wide, Barry Bridges.
Barry Bridges,
right? Yeah. Or Bertie Auld. My dad used to always go on about Bertie Auld, Scottish player, played for Celtic.
Yeah.
I put Bellingham in because I honestly think Bellingham will have an incredible career.
Yeah.
And then I'll just fire through: Gary, Francis, Joe Bradford, Bob Hatton. Joe Bradford, I never saw him play. I mean, but he's top scorer for 12 years. He's the 9th ever highest scorer in top flight history.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a shame.
Playing for an unfashionable club, He was apparently an amazing goal scorer. You know, this is going back to the 20s and the early 30s. I think he played in the 31 cup final. We lost to West Brom, I think. He scored that game. But
30 something.
yeah, I mean, you know, listen, they could put. That's a fantasy team, really. But
no, Bob Blatchford.
I've heard about every one of those players.
I would say Bob, but I mean, I'd have Joe Bradford.
Got him, yeah.
Bob, you know, Bob disappointed me a bit because he left.
Yeah.
And he also, I've got a memory of Bob Blatchford. I mean, he was great. And he went to, I lived in King's Heath, and he used to go to Bramwood School. I used to live in Bramwood Road, in King's Heath. And him and his brothers used to, Dave and what was the other brother?
There was one of the goalkeeper, wasn't there? Peter went to Celtic.
Wasn't there? But I can remember Bob. You know, he scored the goal that got us promoted in '72 at Orient on a famous night. But I can also remember him missing a few sitters, Bob. You know, a few times he used to put the ball over the bar from about 2 yards out. You know.
And who would be the captain in that team?
Future Jude.
Really?
Yeah.
I think
it's good to see him score on his under-21 debut as well, wasn't it?
Yeah.
The other night.
Yeah.
Good goal as well. What a strike!
It's not a coincidence that, you know, I've heard about Jude since he was about 13, and I think a lot of people had. You know, it's extraordinary what he's doing.
Have you ever spoke to Trevor about him, Chris? Have you ever Trevor ever had word with you about Jude?
I did the podcast I did with Trevor, and I you know, just after he'd taken Trevor's record. Yeah. And he just said, I said to him, what would you do? How would you, what advice would you give to a player like him? You know, and he had to sort of think back. He just said, look, you know, just, you know, forget about all the fame and stuff. Just work bloody hard, you know. And I honestly think that, you know, his family background, I mean, it's already plain that he's, you know, he's got a fantastic platform because of the way he's been brought up. I don't know his dad, Mark, but I know I've got a mate who was at college with him, and he said he was a fabulous footballer, and he could have
700 goals he scored over.
Could have been a pro himself, but you know, at least. But more than that, I mean, he's completely grounded. I mean,
what are your thoughts? We've had this conversation on the show many times, but you know, we'll ask. I might as well ask. What's your thoughts on retiring his shirt?
Yeah.
yeah, that's what I thought.
But that's, you know, I say it's the naivety, you know. Rendon, he wants to do well. You know, he's keen and he's desperate to, but he doesn't have the, you know, he doesn't get it really. He doesn't have the experience. That's the problem. That's the problem. Yeah. That structure. That's what, you know, and then you start to look, who's above him. Nobody really knows what's going on. So yeah, it was a bit daft, really. And sadly for Jude, you know, that's going to follow him for the rest of his life, probably. It's a bit daft, but it's true. Yeah. I mean, already he scored that goal the other night in the under-21s, didn't he? And then I read the comments on Twitter, and it was like, "Oh, retire the shirt, retire the shirt."
Yeah. You know, we're never going to live it down.
It was a bit silly, wasn't it? You know,
it was a bit silly. Just on another issue at the moment, right? Linda Ensor, for every goal scored by Blues this season, I'll put £1 into Nick's PTSD charity. Who is in? If you are in, please send Linda a message. She'll collate your names, and then we'll collect the money at the end of the season. Super. Well done, Linda. Thank you.
Good. Yeah, that's fantastic. Nick, just on the same subject, Nick, we need to organise a charity night as well. One of the maybe a charity show, because we have got a bit of memorabilia now.
We have got quite a bit of memorabilia now.
Building up and that, like so. So maybe we can organise that maybe end of the season or halfway through. End of
the season. Bawdsey Labour Club.
Yeah.
Bawdsey Labour Club live on the Tilton Talk page. I'll stay over in a hotel so I can have a couple of beers.
Yeah, just to.
On that, so.
Yeah, fantastic.
So we'll get it sorted with the lads at the BLC, yeah.
Yeah. We'll do that. We'll do.
All right.
Good stuff.
Corona permitting.
Yeah. Exactly.
No predictions for Saturday. Brentford at home.
Go on then.
Chris?
1-1.
1-1, Mark. Yeah.
Yeah, Chris.
I think we'll lose 1-0. I don't see a goal, but I mean, lose 1-0.
Lose 1-0. I'm going to go for. I'll go on, Nick. Go on, Nick.
Well, we've got a host of players out already, haven't we?
I think we've got 5 coming back in, Nick. I think we've got 5. There's going to be more available. I know Sanchez, and I think they're hoping Leko's going to be available as well.
No, he's not.
John Smith.
No,
John
he's not.
Smith. Sorry, John Smith has just asked me, why have I not got a Birmingham City shirt on tonight?
There you go.
Come on, lad.
Come on. He does look a bit Wolvesy.
Black.
It's a bit Wolvesy to me.
Okay,
Remember
let's
the,
go with
here's one
6-0.
for you. Remember the red, black, and yellow, the German flag kit?
Oh,
Yeah.
wasn't that
I
horrible?
saw,
Oh, yeah.
I saw Trevor wear that at Derby once.
Oh,
He's only ever
that's,
worn it about 4 times.
that's right. I've got
Chris-
a picture
Chris
of
Brown,
that. I've got a
message
picture
Chris
of that. Yeah.
The new football season's kicking in now. Okay, so if Birmingham City scores 6, will you still do a show in the nude?
Of course I will, go.
There you go. Linda has already put a bet on 6-0.
There you go. There you go. Yeah. 6-0 anyway.
What's your
No, we've got
prediction?
to score 6.
Yeah. Got to score 6.
We did it last year, but it was on penalties, and I think it
Yeah.
should have stood.
No, I think, okay, then this year it'll stand if it's 6-0 on penalties.
Right, there we go.
There you go.
Superb, superb. And yeah, we should get about. I don't know if we put it out for charity, we should get about 4 pence.
Yeah, yeah. I'm actually doing
Yeah.
it now, bottom half down.
Nick, what's your prediction for Saturday?
1-2.
1-2. Okay. I'm going to go.
I'm not
1-1
feeling it
as
at the
well.
minute, but I don't know whether it's because I've not been going or you know, when you watch it on the TV and there's no noise, there's no. You know, it's okay. Yeah, look, it's good. Putting the crowd noise on, but
Yeah, I'm having
unfortunately, it's
difficulty.
happening about 3 seconds after you score a goal, and it just doesn't sound right, and it's naff.
I'm having difficulty getting excited, to be honest. I can't. I just
Yeah,
can't
I've
do
lost a
it.
bit of enthusiasm.
I can't do
It's
it.
not the same, is it?
No, if it's that or wash.
Yeah,
up,
I'd be sitting
sometimes
here.
it's wash up.
I'd be
Terrible.
sitting here. Right, my only conversation this week would be the first game of the season. Blues,
Yeah,
blues.
that's what it'd be
running
like.
through my body.
Yeah.
We've got to win. I'm going to stick my neck out here. We've got to win sometime, haven't we? We can't keep not winning. So I'm going to go 2-1 to us.
Whoa, there we go. Bit of
If
positivity.
you're going to play Brentford, play them now, I suppose. But
Yeah,
Yeah.
they'll be wounded, won't they,
I'll
Chris,
take
from
it.
the playoffs?
I think it'd be 1-1.
Look, one thing about Blues is they always, when you least expect it, they do better than you think.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's
So
why we
maybe-
love them. That's why we love them.
But I'm just being practical. I just don't know where the goals are coming from at the moment, and I think it will be hard. We won't concede that many.
No.
Yeah,
Carol Sandland has just added herself to the list of the PTSD goals scored for £1. Anybody else in? Let us know. Let's just have a look. John Smith says, apologies, Nick, I need Specsavers. It's all right, mate. I've always got a blue shirt on. I've always got something to do with Birmingham City. Look, there we go.
Remember the old chains? Remember the chains with the Blues?
Oh, I had one, and I haven't
that
got
was a
one
great,
anymore.
that
The
was a
gold.
great cult thing, wasn't it? I used to quite like
Yeah.
that.
I had one, and I don't know where it's gone.
About
Chris.
Blues. It was sort of, you could always tell a Blues fan because they'd secretly have one of those.
Oh, you
chains
mean
on.
like the ladder thing as well? The ladder, the season
Well,
thing.
yeah,
As well.
the logo with the chain. It was like you could always tell. I mean, people.
Yeah, solid gold.
Oh,
Blues
yeah,
flag,
yeah,
we've got the
yeah,
globe.
yeah.
The globe.
Yeah,
Donkey.
Yeah.
That was the kind of Blues thing, wasn't it? And
Yeah.
Linda says, Chris Brown, get down the gym and work on that 6-pack. 6-pack. 6 goals, 6-pack.
Yeah, I've got a 1-pack at the moment. So
Steve Portman says you can't get a 6 on penalties, maximum 5, but what if it's a 1-1 draw, Steve? Dun, da, da, da. There we go.
No flies on you, Nick.
No, I know, mate. Not
Just the
tonight.
marks where the dead ones have been.
Oh, dear.
Pennywood says, I can't see us scoring in a brothel.
Oh, dear.
John Smith has just said, Chris, what's Roy Keane like?
Pino.
Yeah.
I think he's a bit misunderstood, right? He's got a cheeky sense of humour.
Yeah.
I remember I talked about the World Cup I went to in '94 with Ireland, and he was a young player then. And I can remember, I was in the hotel with him. I remember being in the swimming pool with him one day, and he was swimming one way, and I was swimming the other, and I'd sort of have a conversation with him, and he'd sort of blank every time I swam past him. But I think he's quite funny. I mean, it always makes me laugh, and I love his punditry. I think he's fantastic.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Okay, Ray Hodbrow wants to know, Chris, what is the future hold for Chris Skudder?
Good
What's that?
question.
What does the future hold for Chris Skudder?
I'll be in charge of Blues by the end of the season.
Yeah.
More the same.
More of the same.
Keep going, yeah, and yes. On the Blues front, I'd love to get another European campaign. I love those European games.
Oh, crikey, weren't they great?
Maribor was my favourite. Never got a Maribor?
Yeah. Oh, no, I didn't go.
Oh,
but
yeah,
that
yeah,
was
yeah.
Yeah, it was
Terrible.
yeah.
There was a real hardcore there that day.
Mm.
Bruges
Right, I need to
respect
clear
as
this
well.
up, Chris Brown. I need to clear this up. Yeah, we'll come
Go on
back
then.
straight back to that now.
Go on then.
There's a little contention about the 6 goals because if it's 6-1, it's actually Birmingham City scoring 6 goals. Doesn't matter how many of the other
Yeah,
teams
6
score. Even
goals,
if we
yeah,
lose
yeah.
7-6,
Yeah.
right, which we probably would do, it's 6 goals that Birmingham
Yeah,
score. Back
yeah.
to you, Chris. Sorry.
Yeah, go on. Yeah, yeah, back to the Europe.
I'm going to
Yeah.
I'm going to plug in my computer. I'm going to disappear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so,
no,
You
yeah.
did the last 15, Chris.
Right.
Nick, sorry.
Sorry, Paul.
Last 15.
Have you got one?
Do you know what? Nah, not tonight.
No,
Nah.
okay. We
I
haven't
think
got
this has been
time
such
now.
an interesting conversation tonight. It would kind of like
Yeah.
taint it a little bit. It's
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
Yeah,
It's been fascinating. Some great questions and some great answers from Chris.
John Smith's asking if it's 6 in a match or 6 in the season, Chris.
You know what? You know what? The way things are going, it could be 6 in a season.
Steve Jobs has asked Chris Skudder about Maribor 3, Bruges 4.
Yeah, well, funny enough, I mean, I was working at Sky at the time, and I remember the story dropping that there was a German investigation into a German magazine had been tipped off that UEFA were looking into that game. Allegations of, of a fix.
No.
That was
Surely not.
Well, no, seriously, they looked into it because of there was suggestions of illegal of a betting pattern. Usual thing. It was. I can remember the game very well. 3-0 to 3-4 in the last 17 minutes, but it was apparently looked at, but they couldn't find it. There was nothing. They couldn't find anything. No. But it was. I saw an article. It was at least 18 months later that game had been looked at because it was such an unusual result, but they couldn't find any wrongdoing. It was just typical Blues luck, wasn't it?
Oh God, yeah.
Because we would have gone to Istanbul in the next round. Well, would have been.
Can you imagine the chaos?
Yeah, it would have been. That's a real football place. I went there with England.
It's mad.
Probably remember that terrible incident with the Leeds fans. Remember when the 2 Leeds fans got killed?
Oh, the stabbing, yeah,
that's right.
Yeah. England game in 2003, probably. We played them in the twice in one of the qualifiers, and I went to that game. And let me tell you, talk about somebody asked me about doing the Sky story. For that game abroad, we had to have a special training about security. I had to wear a baseball cap with a solid thing inside it in case it was health and safety basically. Yeah. But there were no England fans going, but we still had to. It was like it's dangerous to go to Turkey, which was a bit of nonsense actually. There was no problems when we were there. No. But I remember the return game at Roker Park, not Roker Park, at the Stadium of Light. It was very, very lively. I mean, there was a mob out there trying to get, baying for blood. I was working on that as well with a cameraman who was pretty brave, I've got to tell you. But yeah, we would have been playing Besiktas. Would have been a brilliant trip. But yeah, probably. But for safety reasons, it probably wouldn't have been a good idea.
No, they are fanatical. They're very fanatical. Turkish.
Here's one for you, Chris. Here's one for you. Give us your favourite player from each decade that you've lived through.
What, Blues?
Yeah, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s and 10s.
60s. I'd say Barry Bridges in the 60s because
Gotta be.
because of my favourite game, and I wrote about this in the programme for the Carling Cup final 2011. The one thing that stands out in my mind from those early years was when we beat Arsenal on a cup replay 2-1 on a Tuesday night, and there was so many people. There was like 60,000 people trying to get in, 10,000 outside, 51,000 inside, and Barry Bridges scored an overhead kick, which Bob Wilson, the former TV guy, was in goal for Arsenal that night. He said it was the best goal they ever scored against him. Nobody filmed it. Real shame. It was an overhead, absolute worldie. I can remember seeing it. Everyone was, I mean, then we beat Arsenal. We were second division at the time, and they were like, top team. Barry Bridges, 70s Trev, 80s.
We had some good players in the early
Dillon.
80s.
Kevin Dillon. I still loved Kevin.
Yeah, Kevin Dillon. Yeah.
Or Frank Williams.
Frankie.
90s. Good question. 90s. Cladger. Steve Claridge.
Yeah.
2000s. don't know. I can't think of a 2000. More recent one. The harder one.
Do Garrett?
Yeah, do Gary. Yeah.
Horsfield,
Yeah, Jeff.
the
Yeah,
horse.
yeah. It was.
Lazaridis.
I used to like players that that would never let you down. I mean, I'm a typical Blues fan, really. The ones that do it for me are the ones who just say, "Not having that." They're not. They just put a shift in. That's what it's all about. That's what any football fan will tell you that.
Yeah.
Worse than seeing players going through the motions is nothing worse.
No worse.
Sure. And from the last 10 years,
They bust a gut and you lose. So be it.
Yeah. And then over the last 10 years,
Oh, God, we haven't got anybody who's any good have we in the last 10 years.
Jude maybe.
Yeah. Jude, I honestly think, I can't. The sky's the limit for that kid. I think he'll, probably go and captain England, and he could. Anything's possible with him.
Yeah.
A bit of a freak.
His younger brother's rumoured to be better than him.
Well, I'm not sure about that. I mean, I hope he is. The worst thing, really. I mean, it's very exciting for the fans and everything, but you don't want to be saying to him, it's a lot of pressure. He's only. I was talking to Robert about him a few weeks ago. He was still 14. I think he's just turned 15, hasn't he? So, so in a year's time, maybe next season, we might see him in the, if he comes he's from the same stock, and he's got. Robbo was telling me he's from the same. He's got the same attitude. Brilliant family, very level-headed. He's come through the age groups. He's more of a number 10, more of a sort of more forward orientated than Jude is, but skillful player. To have two of them would be incredible. So I think but Jude is just such a. I went to the Portsmouth game just a year ago, wasn't it? When he made his debut. And funny, I was looking at the team sheet for that today, and it was pretty much our team for this year. People like Charlie Lakin and Cale, Boyd Muntz and Ryan Burke and all these kids who are coming through.
Yeah.
When we got stuffed by Pompey, the first round of the Carabao Cup last year when we lost.
Yeah.
It was August last year.
Yeah, 3-0, wasn't it?
I was on the side of the pitch talking to some of the Sky people.
Yeah.
The game was on Sky, if you remember. And I saw, and Jude came out. I was standing. He walked past me as he came out just at the start of the game. I thought he just looked to me. It was only just 16 then. He just looked like a racehorse to me. He looked like he was just he was an athlete. I thought he had a good game that night. But now look at him. I mean, he's just. They love him already. Love him in.
Do you think you made the right choice? That probably went to, because obviously
absolutely. Yeah. He's out the way.
Me too.
He's out the way. He'll get on with it. He's got some great lads.
Sensible, isn't it?
You can see he's having a ball already. And they know how to treat their young players there.
Yeah.
Going to get 60,000 people watching them every week.
Yeah.
Good luck to him. In fact, I might even go over if I get a chance to go and see one of the games.
Yeah. I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't go to watch him either.
Just being a crowd, good.
Hey, you never know. The Tilton Talk Show might just organise one.
Yeah, minibus, yeah.
But I think you'll have a great career.
We'll have a van.
Never say never.
Never say never. Never say never.
We've nearly run out of time.
Yeah.
I can't believe that.
I know, yeah. Nick, we were talking about next week, Nick, off air, weren't we?
Yes, we were.
Well, I'm actually on a holiday next week, so there isn't a show
Week after
next
then.
week. The week after, yeah.
What's he like? You've only got one job.
and I only get one holiday a week.
You won't be running the Blues with your administration skills.
I don't know. Sounds about right.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yes, I know. Show next week. Back the week after.
Lee Cripps, good show, fella. Michael, looking forward to more. Awesome show, guys. Keep right on, Paul McCarthy.
Thanks for your time, Chris. Been a pleasure.
Thank you for sharing tonight from Chris Brown. Great show again tonight, as usual. Mike Hill, they go on and on and on. Chris Skudder, you've been an absolute gem, mate. Well done, thank you. I know you've got a little bit of experience, I know that, but
If I may, I've been doing a few Blues Zooms myself lately. I've got one on later this week, actually. The lad who's written that book, who's read Hugging Strangers, pretty good. It's a pretty good read, John Berry. And I've got a couple of young lads on, just from what we were saying earlier about, the next generation and why are school kids not supporting Blues anymore? I'm trying to explore that a little bit. I've got a couple of very bright lads coming on who are big Blue noses and working kind of media and stuff. So
quite a few around my area, like North Staffordshire.
Subscribe.
Fantastic. Good stuff.
Well, what can I say? Mr. Hipkiss, aka Mr. Sheen, thank you very much indeed.
No problem. Good evening, all.
And as always,
Good night,
Mark Adams,
all.
aka
Good night, all,
Mr.
rather.
Rowe. Sorry.
I just said good. I said good evening all, and I said good night all. Sorry, I was distracted, and I said good evening all. Instead of good night all.
And aka Mr. Robar, Mark Adams.
Good night, all. Hope everybody stay safe. Keep right on.
And from Mrs. Brown.
Yeah, good night.
And from myself, good night. And from our special guest, this has been an absolutely brilliant show. Great memories, great things, great photograph. Chris, it's been superb. Thanks ever so much for giving your time up, my good friend.
Enjoyed it.
Bless the wishes for the future, whatever you do. We always look out, you know what, every time I see you on Sky Sports, he's a blue nose.
There's stuff on there.
Right.
All the best for the future, my friend. Thank you so much for giving your time up. This has now been immortalised. You can get this on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and the feeds will be up tomorrow as normal, Chris.
There will be.
Superb, superb. This has been the Tilton Talk Show, sponsored by Boyle Sports, SAS Autos, and our friends at Wolseley Labour Club. From myself, from Mark, from Chris Skudder, from me, and from Chris Brown, and from Paul Hipkiss. Good night, God bless, keep right on, and keep the faith.
Good night.
Good night.